Hi, I'm Brianna Brown and I'm reporting to you from Washington, D.C. as the Royals media attend the National Journalism Convention. We first take a look at some museums. Skylar Gibbs brings us the story from the National African American Museum.
I'm Skylar Gibbs, and we're here in Washington, D.C. at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Here's a look at what the museum has to offer. The National Museum of African American History and Culture opened in September 2016 and is located on the National Mall next to the Washington Monument. The $540 million building has over 400,000 square feet, filled with more than 35,000 artifacts that have been collected from all over the world. Guests arrive and take a large elevator down to the bottom floor, which feels very tight and dark to reflect the feeling of the slave trader ships where slaves were brought over across the Atlantic. As guests travel up the floors, they travel through history, seeing the civil rights movement, the era of television, and then modern day.
I think we can't learn diversity through our living culture. We need to go someplace and see how it's displayed from time. It's overwhelming. I'm just, I knew there was a big story, and I don't expect I'll be able to learn it. Certainly not in one visit, but to see what regard and respect has been given to this culture, this institution, this occurrence that happened in our American history is moving to me.
We have been working on several projects with the African American History and Culture Museum to better understand the visitor's perspective in the museum, what they get out of the experience and what they want. That a lot of the visitors that we talk to feel it's very important because it's a history that isn't very often told. Because it's a history that hasn't been told very much or very well in the past. And so to have it be told so well and so vibrantly in such a beautiful space in this particular spot is incredibly important. Many African American visitors that we talk to also talk about how this space is a symbol of community and as a place that they feel is theirs. It's really wonderful to sort of see the stories of the heroes, of the hope, of the resilience, of the ingenuity, of just the incredible lives that are represented here. And so so on the one hand, as a white person, it's easy to just sort of get trapped in that feeling of like guilt and shame and culpability. But on the other hand, actually looking and seeing the power of the people who are represented here is such a wonderful thing. And you can't help but feel hopeful about the future as a result.
And that's it from the museum.
Located just blocks from the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue is the new Zim, with only a month left before it closes its doors. The Royals media visited this interactive museum. Exhibits provided opportunities to honor the First Amendment, learn about the history of media, and even see historical items like the tower from the World Trade Center from 9/11.
Our first stop at the convention was the Journalism Trade Show. Here's the story.
Well, the trade show is to give students and their advisors just services, resources for students especially. There's a lot of colleges displaying here today to try to get you to attend their school, why their school is the best place for you. So we've got yearbook companies, newspaper printing companies, colleges, software companies, so all kinds of folks who want to get your attention, and so you can be a customer.
Convention.
I love working with middle schoolers and high schoolers, which makes sense because that's my future job is working in a school and being a teacher. And honestly, my favorite part is interacting with the students that show interest in something that I'm so passionate about, and getting the opportunity to share with them about some opportunities that they might have if they came to our programs that we provide at a college level.
I love seeing people who I haven't seen for a long time and meeting new people and having an instant connection because of journalism. I just was talking to an advisor and a group of kids at the table, and it was a group. I was talking to them and they were excited. They hadn't been to a convention for a long time, and then 2 more people joined their group, and one of them had a t-shirt on that was actually the t-shirt from my high school in Iowa. And I said, is that your school? I'd been talking to these other kids for 10 minutes and they said, yeah, we're from Iowa. And I said, I was a Spotlight editor, scary before they were born, and they're like, we're on Spotlight. So it's cool to make those kinds of connections and to see people do that too.
My primary job is to make sure that registration and hotel registration goes smoothly, that we have the vendors that we want to have here for our audience here, students and advisors, and then again just to make sure that you've got transportation to get to all those great tours.
So we're kind of a two-parter. So we're here to do a little bit of outreach and talk to students about our university and the opportunities that we offer, and then we also want to talk to them about some of our journalism programs that we have.
There's so many people who have friendships that are rekindled at events like this, and that's amazing. And I love to watch the kids discovering what they love to do and then continuing to do it.
One of the parts that we're here for is to rep Ball State Journalism Workshops. So that's an outreach program that we do at the university. We both have worked in the office, and Jordan still currently works there. I used to work there.
I love everything about journalism. I first came to this convention when I was a high school editor myself, a long time ago and far, far away. And then I became an advisor, and I always brought my kids because I think it's an amazing experience for them. And I worked in a bunch of different capacities with the company since then, and think it's important. But I think that it's important that we practice real life learning and are doing things that beyond the level of high school.
Goal of the show is just to you get some swag, you get to go around and meet some different places, maybe even a school that you hadn't even thought about before, to maybe extend your career there. And so so it's just, again, to give you a lot of options to look at for a variety of different areas.
After all that excitement, we need to get some food. Here's Carter Marks with the story on Ben's Chili.
Ben's Chili Bowl is a restaurant chain in the D.C. area that has strong historical roots and a popular menu. Owner Kamal Ali tells us more.
So Mom and Dad, Ben and Virginia Ali, opened Ben's Chili Bowl August 22nd, 1958. It was on U Street in Washington, D.C., which was called Black Broadway at the time. It was a segregated Washington, so very strong area for the African-American population, probably the best in the whole country. The half smoke is a sausage. It's kind of local to the Washington, Maryland area. You won't find them in other cities. It's a smoked sausage, half pork, half beef, with a natural casing.
Now let's take a look at what our classmates had.
I got the sub burger. It was really good, really flavorful. It was warm, juicy, good patty. Also got the chili cheese fries. The chili's really spicy, really good. It's better than your run-of-the-mill McDonald's burger because it's actually made hot and fresh for you right then and there.
Well, I had the vanilla shake, but there was also strawberry and chocolate, Oreo, and etc.
Entering the late 1960s, Ben's Chili Bowl went through a major setback in which it stayed strong for the community.
So I said we opened in 1958, we survived the riots of 68, the drug wars of 78, but the metro construction of 88, it's about 86 to 92, when they dug up the entire street in front of us, and it was like a graveyard down there, and we barely stayed open, 1 or 2 mom and 1 employee serving a few construction workers. So it was 5 years. It was really the worst time for us because it was dead.
Ali never knows what and who to expect when he enters work each day. Celebrities ranging from Obama to Jimmy Fallon have all ate at his restaurant.
We're happy to be here. Obama came in 2008 when he won the election, and that set a whole new record for us. There were lines out the door for 2 hours. We've had everybody from Larry the Cable Guy to Chris Rock, Chris Tucker, Dave Chappelle, tons and tons of people. Serena Williams, basketball players, football players, basketball players. Everybody comes in.
You can visit Ben's Chili Bowl in Arlington, the Ronald Reagan Airport, and the 2 locations in Washington, D.C.
The Washington Wizards is the NBA team in town. On Wednesday night, they took out the San Antonio Spurs.
On Wednesday, November 20th, the Washington Wizards and the San Antonio Spurs faced off in a regular season game in the Capital One Arena. The Wizards won a close game in their hometown, the score being 138-132. Congratulations to the Washington Wizards in a phenomenal hometown win.
That's all for this episode. See you next time, Royals.